What superhero did you want to be when you were little? You may think about that. What superhero did you want to be? I want to be Batman, right? I really want to be Batman. And I'm the son of Richard and Joyce Voss, Mount Pleasant, Iowa, small town in Iowa, 7,000 people. And my mom at the time was a stay-at-home mom, which the world has now come to recognize how difficult of a job that was. But small town in Iowa, so she bought, what stay-at-home moms did back then was, I want to be Batman, so she went to the local sewing store, bought the material, bought little, the cutout patterns and made one of those little cowls for me, a Batman mask and a cape, and I can remember running around the house and running around the yard as Batman. But that doesn't work out that well as a grown-up, right? When you begin, try to imagine Batman's dating profile. What would it say? Where's the mask has issues? All right, so instead, I became an FBI agent. So a little bit more about what I did as an FBI agent. I was the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator. What did that mean? That meant that any American got kidnapped anywhere in the world, it was my job to get them out. And you might ask yourself, how often is the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator busy? Well, it's a big world and a lot of Americans do stupid things. So I was busy a fair amount of the time. But I had to learn, the key to negotiation, in which I had learned about kidnapping negotiation, is it doesn't matter what it is to you. The issue is, what is it to the other side? Kidnapping to us is a horrible thing. Somebody's family member got taken, their life is being threatened. To the other side, you know what a kidnapping negotiation is to the other side? Another day of work. It's a job. The first time I showed up to get the training to become an international kidnapping negotiator, specialized training, I expected, they were going to teach us, voodoo spells, secret handshakes. I didn't know what we were going to learn. My colleagues stood up in front of us and said, in any country that you go into, you're going to find out that there's going to be an expected initial demand, there's going to be a percentage that they expect to settle for, and there's going to be expected amount of time that they think the kidnapping will last. Now, I don't know what's occurring to you right now, but I grew up, my father was an entrepreneur, he had a small business, and I always took an entrepreneurial attitude, business attitude towards everything I did, and I sat there and I thought, he just described a market. And the commodity's human beings, which initially horrified me. But then I thought, that's just the way it is. To them it's a market. To them it's a business. Kidnapping is a business. Whatever country that it exists in, it's a business. Now, most of the industries, most of the markets in the world, they end up grabbing Americans by accident. Usually if they grab an American, it's a dual national. They don't know they've grabbed an American. How is that possible? Because we assume that in the movies, like Americans that look like me, clearly, obviously American, we're the targets, but we're not. They grab Americans by accident. How is that possible? And pick on the people in the front row, because you guys got the most comfortable chairs. Right, miss, right here. You're an American citizen. How'd you get your citizenship?
I actually immigrated from a different country.
You immigrated from where?
Russia.
Excellent. So you did it the hard way, because you got to jump through a lot of hoops to get your citizenship. What about the young lady sitting right next to you? No. Yes. You're from Ecuador. Are you an American citizen? How'd you get your citizenship? Through your father. And how does that happen? Did it the hard way. You know how I got my citizenship? I was born here. How many countries in the world are you a citizen of that country simply by being born there? Do you guys know? I grew up in Iowa. I didn't know. I thought it was a natural order of things. That was the way it should be worldwide. It's argued, and then I'll clarify it a little bit, that there are two developed nations, U.S. and Canada, the only developed nations, if you will. Not one country in Europe. Are you a citizen of that country if you're born in that country, simply by being born there? Jus soli, I think, is the Latin, means right of the soil. As it turns out, it's largely a legal idea, if you will, of the Americas. Most of the countries in North and South America, you're a citizen of that country if you're born there. But it becomes an issue with dual nationals because, and in Haiti in particular, because at this time Haiti was a revolving door of kidnapping, Haitian moms know that the very best gift they could possibly give their child on their child's literal first birthday is a gift of American citizenship and the rights and privileges that conveys. Simply be born an American. You have those of us born with that, without even realizing it, we're given an advantage over probably 90% of the rest of the world. The United States wouldn't even be discussing a wall if American citizenship wasn't that big of a deal. So Haitian moms, one way or another, want to give their child that gift on their child's literal first birthday. Legal or illegal, they're finding their way onto American soil, and that's why so many Haitians are dual nationals, because they were born in America and their mom found their way there. That's why so many Americans are being grabbed in Haiti at the time. I remember talking to a member of the press saying, if so many Americans are getting grabbed, why isn't it making the press? We work 3-4 kidnappings every week. Well, what's the first rule? Something's in the media. If it bleeds, it leads. People aren't getting killed, we're doing our job. So a 12-year-old boy gets grabbed in Haiti in a kidnapping. I get the call. Now the business model, again, you gotta, in any given negotiation, in your negotiations, regardless of who it's with, it's not what's on the line for you, what's on the line for the other side. It's a business in Haiti. And like any businesses, they have a division of labor. The commodities, human beings, they have people that acquire the commodity, they have people that transport the commodity, they have people that store the commodity, they have people that negotiate for the commodity's release. Many of you have seen the movie Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. By the way, Denzel Washington played me or a version of me in about 3 movies. He doesn't call, he doesn't write, I don't get to go over to the house. I don't get any thanks. But in Man on Fire, Denzel negotiated with the Voice. The Voice's job was to negotiate kidnappings. That's what he did for a living. So the business model in Haiti at the time, and this was Haiti before the earthquake, and I will tell you, I was impressed with the business model. It was a great business model. Carjack a car with more than one person in it. Let one of those people go. You've just handled your marketing. There's no notifications necessary. They knew each other well enough to ride in a car together. When you let one of them go, you can say, hey, Jimmy got kidnapped. You know, the kidnappers have got Jimmy. You've pre-qualified your customer. If they got money for a car and gas in Haiti, it's a poor country, they got money for ransom. Now, here's the best aspect of this business model, which I love, the genius part of it. What happens if you grab the one person in that family that nobody likes? You got a car. You're gonna get paid, no matter what. It's a perfect transaction. So 12-year-old boy's been grabbed in Haiti. He's an American citizen. Nobody else in his family is. His father knows he's an American citizen. His son is entitled to help from the United States government. He goes to the local State Department and says, my son's a citizen, he's been kidnapped. And the State Department says, the FBI is gonna be there to help you. Now, I don't know what will go through your mind. If a member of your family got kidnapped and you were told the FBI was going to be there to help you, I could imagine to some degree, you'd probably imagine maybe 15 minutes or so later, you're going to hear on the front door, and these guys will be there. Maybe they got an FBI hat. But instead, about 15 minutes later, he gets a call from some guy named Chris Voss in Washington, D.C., and he literally says to me on the phone, you're in Washington, D.C., how you gonna help me? Now, how long have I got before he hangs up the phone? You're me. I'm sorry? Seconds. How many seconds? 10, roughly. You're me. What do you say? What do you say? If you're in my position, what do you say? I will do everything in my power. How different is this from the interactions you're in every day? Anytime, first of all, the most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in. If the words I want or I need or will you are coming out of your mouth, you're in a negotiation. And in every one of those negotiations, when you have an ask, when you're looking for collaboration, when you're looking for help from someone, which is a negotiation, how often is the other person not saying to themselves, how are you going to help me? And that's the nature of human interaction. And not every, we in fact are thinking, what's in it for me? Not in a mercenary sense, but we're hardwired to collaborate. As a species, our ancestors were descended from people who collaborated. The caveman that didn't collaborate died alone in the dark. Those that collaborated did. We're hardwired to collaborate as human beings. And part of that is we want a quid pro quo. We want an interaction. We want reciprocity. We know that the person that we're about to help is going to help us. And we're all saying, how are you going to help me? And we all have the same amount of time that I had with this father on the phone. Whether or not you recognize it or not, you guys know the data on how long it takes to make a first impression? 7 to 10 seconds. Same amount of time that I've got with this father. But that's not just first impression, that's ongoing interactions. People's attention span isn't any less than it was 30, 40 years ago. It's just that it's more visible with the phones. But you see pictures from people riding trains 50 years ago, everybody's sitting there with their face in a newspaper, looking out the window. We're still pretty much the same as we've always been. There aren't any huge changes in human nature wiring, if you will. This is what people are saying to themselves on all interactions, the same amount of time with everybody. What do you say? What do you say? How are you going to help me? I will tell you, as we work our way through this brief period of time we have late this afternoon, there's two things I want to get across to you. First of all, let's take the word compassion and sympathy out of empathy. Let's make empathy just articulating our understanding of what the other side is thinking. It requires no sympathy or compassion. Empathy is a very compassionate thing to do, but it's not a necessary element of exercising it, to be able to see what the other person is saying. Take Stephen Covey's guidance from way back when, seek first to understand, then be understood, and just ramp it up a notch and seek first to demonstrate understanding in order to be understood. And hardwire your collaboration. Hit the hard wires that we all have inside us to collaborate, because they're there. The only reason people are not collaborating is not because they're mean, it's because they're scared. People's fears get in their way far more than anything else. How do we break down those fears? Now, the reason why I got this father in Haiti to collaborate with me is because I did it wrong before. The second part that I get to in a little bit in the talk, I'll talk about a kidnapping I worked in the Philippines. First time I'm in the Philippines, I'm in there at the express invitation of the American ambassador to the Philippines. Asked for me by name, as well as the head of the FBI in the Philippines have asked for me by name. By name. As U.S. government's expert on kidnapping negotiation. I get walked into a room, the heads of the Philippine government are there. The president is the only person from the head of the government that's not there, and the only reason the president's not there is his personal advisor is. Secretary of Defense, the head of the Philippine National Police, a number of other military people. And in some substance, say, how are you going to help us? And I take this as the opportunity to trot out my resume. FBI agent, lead international kidnapping negotiator, member of the New York City NYPD FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force for 14 years, winner of the Attorney General's Award for Excellence in Law Enforcement, the FBI's Agents Association Award for Distinguished and Exemplary Service. Not only do I know the book that they teach from Quantico, I wrote the book that they teach from Quantico. And I can tell you that they were suitably unimpressed. They may as well have yawned in my face. Why is that? And this is something that you guys already know is true. Why were they unimpressed? Because a resume correlates loosely with whether or not somebody could do the job. loosely. If a resume correlated exactly with people being able to do the job, there would be no HR. People would show up, slide their resume across the table, and they'd say, "You're hired." And they'd keep their jobs. So your resume correlates loosely. What I say to that father, here's what I said to the father. All right, Haitian kidnappers are not killing kidnap victims these days. I realize it's really stupid because they kill each other at the drop of a hat, but they're not killing kidnap victims. Now today is Thursday, and Haitian kidnappers love to party on Saturday night. If you say the things I want you to say when I want you to say them, we'll have your son out late Friday, early Saturday morning. He said, "Tell me what you want me to do." And we had his son out Saturday morning. So what was the gist of what I said? Because the two things that I had to establish in that 7 to 10 seconds, which is an ongoing issue, are the two things that you consistently have to establish with your counterparts. Trust. Exactly. What else? Somebody said confidence. I would ask you, now a lot of people think that, and that's very common. It's competence. Would you rather have a confident plumber or a competent plumber? As a matter of fact, at some point in time, we're a little leery of confidence because we've been let down by people who are enormously confident. And we put our faith in them, and we found out they didn't know what they were doing. Trust and competence. So, did I give that father any answers? Interesting, when you look at what I said, one of the things I didn't do was give him a single solution. What I did, because the next thing people say to themselves, regardless of what your interaction is, after they say to themselves, "How are you going to help me?" their next question is, "Do you have any idea what I'm faced with?" And what I did was I laid out to that father exactly what he was faced with. I laid out the challenges that were in front of him and the slightest amount of insight into those dynamics in terms of the timing. And these are external social pressures that we all have. And it's a recognition of what represents to your counterpart the equivalent of a Saturday night for a kidnapper. Because you all know that those issues are there. They impact you. Try to get something done on Wall Street in August. Not happening. Even harder than Wall Street, try getting something done in Seattle in August. Any of you that are familiar with Seattle, you're like, "Yeah, you ain't going to get me to do anything. I'm out hunting and fishing in August. That's the only good month we have the whole year." So these external dynamics, these social pressures that play on all of us because we're human beings, exist everywhere. And it's a simple recognition of that. Seek first to understand, then be understood. Seek first to demonstrate understanding in order to be understood. I demonstrated an understanding of his challenges. Here's what you're up against. And the other person is either going to give you the magic 2 words, "That's right," or they're going to correct you. In a session I had earlier today, do not underestimate the value of being corrected. A lot of people hate to be corrected because they find it very embarrassing. They think it makes them look stupid. And there are a number of things that it depends upon which side of it you're on as to how you feel. And the differences are massive because while you're embarrassed at being corrected, and we teach people to being corrected intentionally a lot, the other side, what person doesn't love to correct? It feels so good to correct somebody. It might as well be one of the 7 deadly sins. Somebody corrects you 3 or 4 times, they need to go smoke a cigarette. It felt so good. And we're embarrassed by it, but the other side enjoyed it so much, what they want to do is they want to continue the interaction. Because when you're correcting, your guard is down. You feel like you're collaborating. And you feel like the other person is listening to you. And that's why on a regular basis we teach people to do it on purpose, because the other thing that happens when somebody's correcting you, there's a really good chance they're going to blurt out stuff that they would never say otherwise, because they feel so powerful in the midst of doing it, which also means that if they shared information with you that they shouldn't have, they're not going to regret it, because people don't remember what they said, they remember how they felt when they said it. And that's one of the keys for a great ongoing relationship, because you're using deference. As hostage negotiators, we're deferential. Everybody likes deference. The power of deference is phenomenal. So we're deferential with everybody. These are the emotional intelligence hacks that speed up your collaboration, that save you time. Now, the other thing I didn't do was I didn't get the father to try to say yes once. Now, LinkedIn didn't tell you in advance, but this is what this kind of a meeting is. I know you guys are all yes addicts. It's one of those meetings. This is Yes Anonymous. You know those meetings when I stand up in front of you, hi, I'm Chris, I'm addicted to yes, and you guys go, hi, Chris. Some of you have been to those meetings, I know you have. But we love yes. Yes is just like, we get enthusiastic when we hear yes. But what happens when somebody's trying to get us to say yes? We get leery. We know there's a hook there. We always wonder what's the catch? And in point of fact, there's still some nonsense out there that I'm glad is out there, because it will always make the training provided by my company the best training ever, because we understand how bad this is. There's something out there called the yes momentum or momentum selling. You could Google it tonight and you're going to find it. And it's going to say each yes is a micro agreement and it's a tie down. So get them to say yes to something little. Would you like to make more money? Would you like to live in a big house? Would you like to travel the world and stay in 5-star hotels? Come to the LinkedIn conference. Wait a minute, hold on. You know, there's a hook there. You know, there's always a hook. And there may have been a time when this was okay, but the problem is everybody is yes battered at this point. Every used car salesperson has learned this. Every swampland seller has learned this. Every coupon book seller with a coupon book costs you $25 and is supposed to be worth $50,000. I still got one of those in my desk drawer at home that I bought when I was 18. And we get yes battered. Now, those of you in the room, the majority of you, when you're trying to get a yes, you're doing it respectfully. You're not trying to push anybody into a corner. You're saying, yeah, but I'm not trying to trap anybody, so it's okay that I do it. Well, here's the problem. What happens if you try to hug a battered child? They still flinch. So the first part that I'm trying to get you to do is, you can get this tattoo if you'd like. But get out of yes, and instead, here's an example. Jack Welch, former CEO of GE. He's doing a book signing in Los Angeles. I'm there to go to the book signing. At the time, I'm still teaching at USC. I want to ask Jack to come and speak to my class at USC. How many people try to get Jack Welch to say something at that book signing? All of them. Hey, Jack, you want to come to the house? Hey, it's my kid's birthday. Hey, endorse my product. I know this is going on, and I know what an impact, and I actually know what the opposite is. So I walk up to Jack Welch, a line of 300 people, everybody trying to get his attention. I got 7 seconds with Jack. I got time to say one thing. I say, is it a ridiculous idea for you to come and speak at the negotiation class I teach at USC? And he looks at me, and then he looks up and to the left, and he gets this really intense scowl on his face. And he doesn't move. And I think, I just killed Jack Welch. He's not a young guy, right? He looks like he had a stroke and he's going to fall over dead. Well, he doesn't die. Initially, I'm relieved, but then he doesn't freeze, and I think he's going to start going, Scurdy, Scurdy. Finally, he looks at me and says, this is my personal assistant's name. This is a special Twitter account we have set up to communicate with her. I will call her and tell her who you are. I think we're going to be in Los Angeles in the fall. If we are, we'll come in and speak at your class. One calibrated no is worth at least 5 yeses. You like yes? See what happens when you intentionally trigger no. Any one of your yes questions can be switched to, is it a ridiculous idea? Are you against? Do you disagree? Is it a bad idea? Have you given up on? You'd be stunned at what people will say no to. Stunned. That's one of the accelerators. Now, what if getting them to say no is not enough? Here's where you go. You need to get people to say, that's right. That's right's what people say when they feel completely understood and they don't know, but every time somebody says that's right to you, a small or a large bond of empathy has been built between the two of you. They're confirming to you they feel empathy from you. In either small or big doses, varying degrees. Every one of those is an indicator that you're satisfying Covey's guidance from way back, seek first to understand, so you can be understood. Does empathy work on sociopaths? This is an American overseas doing something stupid. This is a sociopath that's got him. This is a negotiator I am coaching. We're going back and forth for months over the ransom demand. The ransom demand is $10 million, $10 million, $10 million. But it's not for ransom, it's for war damages, for 500 years of oppression, from the Spanish to the Japanese to the Americans, a violation of fishing rights to the economic harm over 500 years. And right now you guys are saying to yourself, this is why hostage negotiation has no relevance to my life, because I was never in a debate with somebody who brought up stuff from the past that was no longer relevant. And we're going back and forth on this for months. So finally I tell my guy, we're going to get a that's right out of the sociopath today. You're going to summarize his perspective. Again, there's nothing about their perspective being accurate, and you have to throw in the stuff about you that's bad in order to get a that's right. So you're going to summarize his perspective. 500 years of oppression, from the Spanish to the Japanese to the Americans. And the current government is just a puppet government that's held up by the latest colonial invader, the Americans anyway, in violation of the fishing rights and economic harm. And we're a separate nation anyway. We're Maros, we're not Filipinos. We've been oppressed for over 500 years. And I told my guy to lay it on thick. And if you don't feel like you're laying the other side's perspective on thick, you are not laying it on thick enough. And my guy lays it out. I don't know how long he went on, but he finally finishes, and he hesitates and he stops, and there's a moment of silence, and the sociopath on the other side says, that's right. And they sit in silence for a couple more minutes, seconds, and my guy says, let's talk again in a few days. I say, okay, hang up the phone. And the $10 million went away. It was never mentioned again. It went from 10 million to 0. And then that's right moment, in the moment we demonstrated understanding the other side. Kidnapping took a couple more twists and turns over several more months. And on Maundy Thursday, the Thursday before Easter, the night Jesus prayed in Gethsemane, our hostage walked away, just walked away, leaving the kidnappers with nothing. The military flew down, notified us that he was out. We flew him back to the United States. I'm back in the Philippines about 3 weeks later on another kidnapping. I connect back up with my guy, and he says, you're not going to believe who called me on the phone. I go, I don't know who called you. The terrorists. What did he say? He said, have you been promoted yet? I don't know what it was that you said to me on the phone. You're really good at what you do. I was going to kill the American. You kept me from doing it. Understand, this is coming from a guy who lost everything. He said they should promote you. He hung up. In that moment, he called to tell the guy I coached, we're good. I felt respected by you. I'd deal with you again. That's the strength of the response of completely hearing the other side out. Not agreeing to any of it, just hearing it out and letting them know that you heard them. All right. So, We'll get into a Q&A really quickly. We'll have a couple moments for that, not a lot of time. First of all, buy the book. Buy my book. You will stay in 5-star hotels and travel the world. Or at least I will if you buy enough copies. It's all about me. What are you going to do for me, right? No, buy the book. And then the newsletter is short, sweet, and concise. It comes out on Tuesday mornings. It's free. There's a colleague of mine in the FBI that used to like to say, if it's free, I'll take 3. A lot of people get a long way with just the newsletter and the book. Actionable, short, concise information. If you send a text message in, don't let your spell check make it 2 words, FBI empathy. Make sure it's 1 word. We put a lot of free stuff out there, a lot. You are going to get a long way with just the book and the free content that we put out there. Avail yourself of that first. We have a lot of other stuff, and some of that stuff, if you were to come to one of our one-day training sessions, nobody that comes to that session hasn't read the book because you're going to be in over your head if you don't. Those are high-speed sessions for people who really want to take it to the next level. You can get a long way with just this. All right, we got a couple of moments for Q&A. I think there are microphones on either side of the room. Then after we do a little bit of Q&A, then I'll have a short video to show you before we get out of here. So, anyone want to venture a question besides, how does a guy from Iowa sound like he's from New York? Yes, you have a question now that I'm going to ask you to go to the microphone that's over there so that everybody can hear your question, because there's a pretty good chance somebody else is thinking the same thing.
Hello, Chris. I'm one of your fans. My name is Ronica Carrera from LinkedIn, and I think there are a few LinkedIn people who absolutely love you here, so thank you so much. I read the book. I love it. I feel like I have to read it again and again. There's one concept that you talked about, the Black Swan.
Right.
How do you get to understand what you don't know yet? Can you expand a little bit more on that as far as the technique or the strategy and help us understand, make the connection to business?
Sure. All right. So Black Swan is a piece of information that you didn't have going in, that you discovered through the process, that changed everything. Now I would ask you this, in any given negotiation you're in, when is there not information that you're holding back? When are you not hiding cards? When is there not something about the circumstances that you're concerned about letting the other side go because you're worried about leverage or vulnerability or them being able to have an advantage over you? Pretty much all the time, right? And you're holding it back because it's important. Well, if that's the case for you, it's also the case for the other side. So what'll bend your brain a little bit is like not only what's the other side holding back, but what's in the overlap. How do we know when this stuff overlaps? I was filmed for a documentary not too long ago, and we were talking about this, and they said, yeah, we assume that that's the case when we do documentaries. When we do a documentary, they said we have what's called the working hypothesis, which means things are going to change as soon as we start to shoot. And anybody with any experience in documentaries, they call them happy accidents. They say we're always going to find out stuff to take the documentary to a new level and in a direction that we didn't expect. A black swan is a happy accident. They are holding stuff back. They're holding it back because they're scared. They're only holding it back because it's important. And they're holding stuff back that they don't even know is important. Which is why you want to get into the conversation, because when you start getting that's rights out of people, they start blurting stuff out, and you go like, holy mackerel. It's going to make all the difference in the world. So black swans are the happy accidents that you uncover through great collaborative interaction. Yes?
Hi, Chris. My name is Andy Storch. I host a podcast called The Talent Development Hot Seat, and I think it would be a terrible idea for you to let me interview you on podcast. That'd be crazy.
Why no? Somehow I feel strangely compelled to respond to it. I don't know what it is.
Great. I also have a question. I've read your book, and following up on what you talked about today, you talked about the importance of demonstrating understanding,
Right.
and also the power of letting people correct you. So what's the balance there between, showing that you understand, you're competent, versus maybe making some mistakes or not being as competent so they can correct you on something?
Well, the big issue is not being afraid to make mistakes. You're not going to get it exactly right. So instead of keeping your mouth shut and being embarrassed by it, take wild guesses. Take educated wild guesses, emotionally intelligent wild guesses. Like when you guys, whenever you go back to the airport, when you get ready to get out of here, you can look at the person behind the counter and know what kind of a day they're having. You can walk up to them and say, tough day? They look like it? They're going to appreciate that. You take a read of what's going on. People give you massive amounts of information before you even approach them. So being able to genuinely take some wild guesses and being willing to be wrong. And it's a great way to practice as well. And you need practice.
Thank you.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do, because I talked a little bit longer than I originally planned. I got a video. Speaking of making mistakes, I got a video to show you. It's a very important video about preparation and what great preparation will help you do.
A proof of life video, that's what they're called. The ultimate good news, bad news story if you're ever unfortunate enough to see one. Today's high-stakes rescue mission in Colombia ended a drama that has been dragging on for years. Chris Voss is the former FBI lead international kidnapping negotiator, and he worked on the
So in terms of preparation here, what do you think my principal preparation issue is? The lighting might be a little hard to see, but the hair on the side of my head is sticking out right here. So this is the first time I was ever on CNN, which kind of blew me away. But it's on Anderson Cooper. I'm from Iowa. There are more people watching this Anderson Cooper on CNN than in the town I grew up in. So I'm excited to go in there. I'm going to learn stuff. Like, I'm going to find out, at last, I'm going to find out. Do they have a green room, and is it green? Because I'm from Iowa. We're practical people in Iowa. You got a room in your house called the green room, that's got to be green. Why would it be the green room? Well, I went in, they took me to the green room, it wasn't green. Okay, so they're not from Iowa. Then, you know where you go after the green room? Makeup. I remember the first time I sat in that chair and that really pretty lady's putting makeup on my face. And I was thinking, my father's rolling over in his grave right now. Never thought his son would wear makeup. So after makeup, you go into the studio. You're not actually in the studio with Anderson. You're in a side studio, which is actually a large, dark closet. They have a light that shines right in your eyes. They say, that's the camera. Look at the light. Talk to the light. That's talking to Anderson. Down to the left is a monitor. They say, the monitor is going to show the programming. It'll come on when we go live. Do you want it off or on? I said, leave it on. I never saw me on CNN before. I want to watch this. Leave that on. So we've just gone live, and I'm looking down to the monitor, and I can see my hair sticking out, and I am perplexed. And the worst part of it is, the monitor's a mirror image. I don't know which side of my head the hair is sticking out. But I'm a negotiator. I work under pressure. I generate options. I isolate problems. So the first thing I got to do is figure out which side of my head the hair is sticking out. So,
this case from the beginning until his retirement just last year. He joins me now. Chris, this has got to be kind of...
For some reason, I thought moving my head around, my hair would like wave and I'd be able to feel it. You see from the look on my face, I'm thinking like, nah, that didn't happen. So I'm feeling pressure here now, right? There are more people watching this. There are people who know my mom are going to watch this. They're going to call her on the phone. They're going to say, your son doesn't even know how to comb his hair. He embarrassed our small town in Iowa. So I got to figure out what I can do. What are my options? Like, I probably can't go with two hands because then I look like one of the Three Stooges. I probably can't lick my hand. I'm trying to decide what to do. I'm trying to decide how to make my move.
A remarkable day for you to be so...
Anderson Cooper's hair is perfect. That's not fair. You know, I'm sure the producer went, hey, let's go split screen. Let's make sure everybody sees how bad Voss's hair is. Anderson Cooper could be in a hurricane. His hair wouldn't move. So I'm feeling it, and there's a little extra snarl on my face here now, too. Now I can see this. So I'm trying to decide, I got to make a move. I'm feeling extra pressure now. I'm looking bad, and, people are going to call my mom. It's like that kid's jump rope game with two ropes with double dutch where, you go, how do I get in? When do I go in? Everybody's, come on, let's go.
Closely involved in this, and to finally...
You see kind of a sick look coming across my face, right? The realization is that it happens that I'm missing.
See it come to fruition.
Damn it. All right, what's the point? The point here is you make mistakes with the people you interact with. I made this mistake. We finished out the interview on CNN. They didn't ban me for bad hair. It was on for a bunch more times after that. You'll make mistakes with the people that you deal with. You'll make mistakes with them. The straw that broke the camel's back is never capable of doing it by itself. As long as your overall approach with everybody that you deal with, colleagues, people above you in the chain, people below you in the chain, loved ones, as long as your approach is to genuinely understand, to genuinely hear them out, to make them feel respected and understood, everybody you deal with, separate from the outcome, everybody you deal with, when you're done, will look at you and say, we're good. We're good. I'd deal with you again. Thanks for spending time with me this afternoon.